Dating apps are supposed to connect us with new people, maybe even love. But what happens when the person who seems charming behind a screen turns out to be someone you should have never trusted? Tonight on Velvet Shadows, we descend into 12 bone-chilling real-life horror stories, each one pulled from the darkest corners of Reddit, where users confessed the terrifying truth about their dates from hell. These aren't just awkward dinners or ghosting. These are tales of stalking, psychological torment, disappearances, and near-death encounters. So turn off the lights, grab your headphones, and prepare yourself, because some matches should never be made. If you're brave enough to face the darkness, hit that like button and subscribe to Velvet Shadows, where true terror comes to life every week. Now, let's begin with the first story, a date that started with dinner and ended with blood. Story 1. The knife in her purse. I met her on Hinge. Her name was Emily, a nurse, she said. Beautiful, brunette. Her profile was simple, classy, not overdone like most. We matched after she liked my photo of me at the lake. She said I had honest eyes. We messaged for a few days and she suggested dinner. She picked a quiet Italian place out of town. I offered to drive, and to my surprise, she said yes. She lived alone in a small apartment complex at the edge of the city. When she walked out, I noticed something off. She wasn't dressed for dinner. Black hoodie, jeans, no makeup, and she was carrying a massive purse. Everything okay? I asked. She gave me a weird smile. I don't like dressing up unless I know it's worth it. The ride was awkward. She barely spoke, just stared at the passing trees and hummed some tune I didn't recognize. Halfway through the drive, I noticed something moving in her purse. "Do you have a pet in there?" I joked. She looked at me deadpan. "No, just my protection." "Excuse me?" She reached into her purse, pulled out a 7-inch hunting knife, and laid it on her lap. "Just in case you're not who you say you are," she whispered. "But don't worry. I already checked your address, your sister's name, your workplace. You're clean." My hands gripped the steering wheel. "How did you get that info?" She giggled. "Hinge links to Instagram. You posted a tagged birthday photo last year. Your sister has a public profile. Easy." I tried to laugh it off. "Okay, you're joking, right?" She didn't answer. Dinner never happened. I pulled over at a gas station, faked an emergency call from my mom, and told her I had to drop her back. She sat in silence the whole way. When we reached her apartment, she turned to me and said, "You should have made more of an effort. I liked you." She got out, slammed the door, and walked off. I drove straight home, locked every door, and deleted Hinge. But the story doesn't end there. A week later, I came out to my car and saw something under my windshield wiper. It was a single Polaroid photo of me, asleep, in my bed. The window behind me was slightly open. I moved the next month. Story 2. The Man in the Mirror. I met Ava during the pandemic. She was different, soft-spoken, always quoting old poetry. Her photos looked like they were taken on a vintage camera. Her clothes, outdated, long skirts, lace gloves, like she stepped out of a black and white film. And her bio, it simply read, "I like quiet places, eye contact, and secrets." Yeah, that should have been my first red flag. But I was lonely and curious, so I messaged her. We talked for a few weeks, but she always avoided video calls, said her camera was broken, said she hated how her voice sounded on audio. I told myself it was quirky. Eventually, I invited her over to my place. I cooked dinner, lasagna, her favorite. The night she arrived, I swear, the air got colder. And I'm not saying that to be dramatic. I mean, it literally felt like the temperature dropped 10 degrees the second she stepped through the door. She was beautiful, but still, her skin, pale, her eyes, never blinking long enough. She smiled, but it didn't quite reach her face. And the weirdest thing, She kept looking at the mirror in my hallway, not glancing, staring. Dinner was quiet. She barely touched her food. Then she said something strange. She looked around my living room and whispered, "Your walls are thin, you know." I laughed awkwardly. "You mean like thin as in bad insulation?" She shook her head slowly. "No, I mean thin between here and there." I didn't ask what there meant. After dinner, she excused herself to the bathroom. 10 minutes passed, then 20. No sound, no flush, no running water. I knocked, no answer. Finally, I pushed the door open, and the bathroom was completely empty. Window wide open, curtain gently swaying. She was just gone. I checked outside, checked my entire house. Nothing. I was freaked out, but I convinced myself she must have just left. Some weird emergency. Maybe she got nervous. I mean, it was our first in-person meeting. So I sat down on the couch, trying to calm down. That's when my dog, who never barks, started growling at something in the hallway. I looked over, and I froze. In the hallway mirror, I saw her, standing right behind me, not moving, not blinking, just watching me. But when I turned around, there was no one there, just the hallway. Empty. But in the mirror, she was still there. Same blank expression, same stare. I swear on everything. I covered that mirror with a blanket that night and slept with every light on. The next morning, I thought maybe I hallucinated the whole thing. So I checked the security footage on my porch camera. I watched Ava walk up to my front door. She walked in, but she never walked out. There's no footage of her leaving. I checked the bathroom window cam too. Nothing, no movement, no trace of her. I deleted Hinge that night, blocked the number, never uncovered that mirror again. But sometimes, just sometimes, when I pass that hallway late at night, I feel like someone is standing behind me, not in the room, but inside the mirror, watching, waiting, smiling. If you made it through that story without looking over your shoulder, you're braver than most. But here's your test. Go down to the comments and type this phrase, "Don't look in the mirror." Let me know you're one of the brave few who can handle what hides in the reflection. Story 3, the woman who knew too much. Her name was Michelle. We matched on Hinge and hit it off almost instantly. She was smart, funny, and had this calm, mysterious vibe about her. Our conversations flowed, but something always felt a little too easy. Like she already knew what I was going to say before I said it. Then, on our second date, she said something that made my skin crawl. "Your mom used to drive a red Honda, right?" I blinked. "Yeah, how do you know that?" She just smiled. "You told me." I didn't. That night, she started listing off random details from my childhood. The name of my third-grade teacher, the scar I have on my leg, even the street I grew up on. All things I never posted anywhere online. I asked her if she had looked me up, but her smile only grew. She leaned in close and whispered, "I remember things about people I care about." I didn't stick around to ask what that meant. I blocked her and deleted Hinge the same night. But a few weeks later, I moved apartments. New city, fresh start. And one morning, I found a small envelope slipped under my door. Inside was a Polaroid photo of me, asleep in bed. On the back, in neat handwriting, it said, "Sweet dreams. I still remember everything." If that story gave you chills, drop this in the comments. She remembered too much. Let's see who's watching with the lights off tonight. Story 4, the locked room. We met through Hinge, of course. Her name was Claire. Red hair, soft smile, very girl next door. After a few days of chatting, she asked if I wanted to come pick her up for our first date, said her car was in the shop. I should have trusted my gut when she dropped her location, a run-down apartment complex on the edge of town. But I went anyway. She met me out front, purse in hand, and said, "Shoot, I forgot my wallet. Mind if I run in real quick?" I said, "Sure." She hesitated, then smiled and added, "Wanna come in?" Her apartment was almost empty. No furniture except a single chair, a flickering lamp, and a small table with nothing on it. But the strangest thing, there was one door, near the back, with a bolt lock on the outside. As she went into the kitchen to grab her wallet, I swear I heard whispering behind that locked door. Then, a soft knock. I stepped closer, and that's when I heard it. "Please, help me." The voice was weak, male, panicked. I backed up just as Claire came back in. She saw me staring at the door and smiled. "That room's off limits." I left without dinner, blocked her, reported her account. A week later, I drove by the building. The apartment was boarded up. No record of her name on the lease. No one ever saw her again. But I still remember the voice behind that door. If that story gave you chills, comment this below. What's behind the locked door? Let's see who's still brave enough to open it. Story 5. The dinner that wasn't. Her name was Kara. We had only exchanged a few messages on Hinge when she invited me to a special dinner with her family. Said they had a tradition of welcoming new people they liked. It sounded intense, but also kind of sweet. She asked me to meet her at a cabin, deep in the woods, about an hour out from town. No address, just a dropped pin on a dirt road. The kind of place GPS starts to glitch. When I pulled up, it was already dusk. The cabin looked off. No lights on, no sound. Just candlelight flickering through the windows. I knocked. Kara opened the door and smiled like nothing was strange. She didn't even say hi, just motioned for me to follow her inside. And that's when I saw them. 5 people sitting in total silence around a circle of lit candles on the floor. No food, no table, just watching me. I whispered, "Where's dinner?" She didn't answer. Just leaned in close and said, "If you want to leave, don't speak, walk backward, slowly." I didn't ask questions. I did exactly what she said. As I backed away, the 5 people began to chant, low, whispering voices. One of them stood up, fast, but Kara stepped between us. Her eyes were dead serious. I got into my car and drove until I hit pavement again. Later, I tried to look her up, but her Hinge profile was gone. And that cabin doesn't exist on any map I've checked since. If that story messed with your head, comment below. There was no dinner. Let's see who made it out of that cabin with their soul intact. Story 6. His eyes were all black. His name was Tyler. Handsome, calm, didn't say much, which honestly made him more intriguing. We matched on Hinge after he liked one of my photos at the lake. Our conversations were short but weirdly deep. He talked like someone who'd seen things he didn't want to share. We met for coffee, then had dinner a few days later. He didn't eat anything. Said he wasn't hungry. I laughed and said, "What, are you a vampire or something?" He looked me dead in the eyes and replied, "Food doesn't fill me anymore." I thought he was joking, but the way he said it was like he meant it. Later that night, we went back to my place just to talk, I thought. He stood in the corner of my living room quietly looking around, never touched his drink, never sat down. I excused myself to the bathroom, but when I came back out, he was gone. I called his name. Nothing. Then I heard a faint whisper from my bedroom. I stepped in and froze. Tyler was standing in front of my mirror, not moving, just staring at his own reflection, only it wasn't his reflection. His face looked the same, but his eyes were pitch black. No whites, no pupils, just black holes. He turned to me and said calmly, "You should stop inviting things into your life that you don't understand." And just like that, he was gone. The front door still locked, no footsteps, nothing on the cameras. And the next morning, every photo of him on my phone had corrupted, turned into static, all except one. It was a selfie we took, but in the image, My eyes were black. If that one got under your skin, comment this. His eyes were all black. Let's see who's watching with the lights off tonight. Story 7. She stole my jacket and my face. It was supposed to be casual, just coffee with a girl named Riley. She was sweet, a little quiet, kind of artsy. We met once, sat outside a cafe and talked about old movies. Before leaving, she complimented my jacket, said it made me look like someone who knew secrets. I laughed it off. The next morning, things started getting weird. A co-worker messaged me and asked why I ignored him when I passed him on the street that morning. Only, I was still in bed. I hadn't even left the apartment. Later that week, my neighbor said she saw me standing in the hallway, staring at her door. But again, I hadn't left my apartment, and I don't even live on her floor. I thought maybe I was losing it, until I checked my mailbox and found a note. No envelope, just a torn piece of notebook paper that read, "Thanks for letting me borrow your smile. It fits perfectly." I hadn't seen Riley since that first date. She never replied again. Her profile disappeared. But here's what really messed me up. Over the next few weeks, I started finding photos slipped under my door. Polaroids. Each one was a picture of me, walking down streets I hadn't been on, sitting on benches I'd never visited. Different clothes, same face. But in every photo, my smile looked a little too wide, a little too forced, like it wasn't mine anymore. If that story made your stomach turn, drop this in the comments. She stole my face. Let's see how many of you are still watching and still yourselves. Story 8. The man who burned everything. His name was Eli. We matched on Hinge a few months ago. His profile was quiet, just one picture, black and white, with a blurry background. But his messages were thoughtful, almost poetic. He said he liked old houses, jazz records, and keeping things clean. On our second date, I went to his place. It was spotless, like unsettlingly clean. No photos on the walls, no clutter, not even a coffee mug out of place. The strangest part? The air smelled faintly of smoke, like something had been burned recently. I asked about it. He said, "Oh, just cleaning up loose ends." Didn't explain further. When I used the bathroom, I noticed the cabinet under the sink was screwed shut, and the mirror, cracked, but carefully glued back together. That night, curiosity got the best of me. I did something I've never done before. I looked up his name and found nothing. No social media, no job listings. Just one news article buried in an old forum about a man named Eli who was suspected of arson in 3 cities. No charges filed, always vanished before they could question him. Each fire had one thing in common. Every single victim had gone on a date with him days before. I blocked him, deleted the app, tried to forget it ever happened. But last week I came home and smelled smoke. A single matchbook was sitting on my kitchen counter, and inside it, a note. "Some things need to be erased to stay clean." If that one scorched your nerves, comment this. He burned everything. Let's see who's watching and what you're willing to leave behind. Story 9. She only showed up in mirrors. Her name was Lana. We met through Hinge. She had this captivating energy in her photos. Soft lighting, vintage clothes, and always near a mirror. I thought it was just a style thing. We had a couple of late-night video calls, but she never turned on her camera. Said she hated how she looked on screens. Still, her voice, it had this soft, hypnotic lilt. She made you lean in. She finally agreed to meet at my apartment. When she arrived, she was quiet, a little awkward, but something about her made it hard to look away. I offered her a drink and stepped into the kitchen for a second. When I came back, she was gone. But not entirely, because I saw her again, not in the room, but in the mirror. She was just standing there, staring out at me. Same expression, same clothes, but her reflection wasn't moving. I turned around. The room was empty. I stared back into the mirror, and she blinked. After that night, she was everywhere. In mirrors. Only mirrors. At the gym, in store windows, in the rear-view mirror of my car, always just behind me, never blinking, never aging. I smashed the mirrors in my apartment, took them all down. But every now and then, I catch her. In the reflection of my phone screen, a spoon, a puddle, always smiling, always closer. And last night, I woke up and found one word written backwards on my bathroom mirror. Stay. If that one gave you chills, drop this in the comments. She's still in the mirror. Let's see who's brave enough to look into the glass tonight. Story 10. He only spoke in my dreams. His name was Jason. We matched late one night and around 2 a.m. His profile was vague, just one line in his bio. If I show up in your dreams, don't wake up. At first, I thought it was a joke. We exchanged a few messages. He asked strange questions. Things like, do you remember your dreams? Or, have you ever woken up with marks you can't explain? The conversation drifted, and I eventually stopped replying. That same night, I had a dream. I was walking down an empty street at dusk. Fog thick as smoke. Jason was there, standing under a flickering street lamp, smiling. He said, "Took you long enough." I woke up sweating, heart pounding. Thought it was just a weird coincidence. But then it happened again, and again. Every time I slept, Jason was there, waiting. Each time he brought me deeper. First it was the street, then a house, then a hallway of locked doors. He'd whisper things like, "One more door and you'll finally see." And every time I tried to ask who he really was, I'd wake up with a new scratch across my back. Then one night I didn't wake up, not for hours. I was trapped in the dream, in that hallway, alone. Jason didn't show, but I found a mirror at the end of the hall, and when I looked in, I saw his face on my body. Since then, I've stopped sleeping. But sometimes, just as I nod off, I hear his voice whispering, "We're not done." If that one blurred your reality, comment, "He waits in my dreams." Let's see who's still sleeping peacefully tonight. Story 11. The date who brought something back with him. His name was Mark. We met on Hinge, clean-cut, outdoorsy, worked in IT. Nothing out of the ordinary. Our first date was simple, late lunch, decent conversation. He mentioned he'd just gotten back from a hiking trip in Utah. Said he liked off-grid spots where phones don't work. That should have been my first red flag. I invited him over a week later. He was quiet that night, distant, almost like he was listening to something I couldn't hear. Then came the smell. It was faint, like old moss and wet ash. I asked him if he stepped in something. He smiled and said, "Sometimes things follow you back when you leave places that were never meant to be visited." I laughed, thinking he was just being weird. But the next morning, after he left, the air still smelled off. And in the corner of my bedroom mirror, behind my reflection, I saw something move. It wasn't my shadow. It was taller. I thought I was seeing things. But every night after that, I'd hear heavy footsteps in my hallway at exactly 3:17 a.m., always stopping outside my door, never knocking, never leaving. One night I called Mark. He picked up and said only this, "It chose you, not me," then hung up. I haven't seen him since, but now the lights in my apartment flicker when I talk about him. And every single mirror in my place has a fingerprint, the same one, pressed from the inside. If that one left a mark on you, comment, "It followed him back." Let's see who's still watching and what's behind them. Story 12. She died before our date, but still showed up. Her name was Alina. She messaged me first on Hinge. Rare, right? She was soft-spoken, kind, and obsessed with horror movies. Said she loved dark things with a little truth in them. We talked for a week straight. No red flags, just connection. We made plans to meet Friday night. She'd come to my place. I cleaned, lit a candle, even bought her favorite wine. She mentioned it in passing once and I remembered. But an hour before she was supposed to arrive, I got a text. Not from her, from her sister. Alina had died, a car accident, just the night before. I was frozen. I read the message over and over. I didn't cry. I didn't know how to process it. I just sat there, numb. Until there was a knock at the door. I opened it, and Alina was standing there. Same soft voice, same favorite wine in her hand. She smiled and said, "Sorry, I'm late." I didn't say a word. I was too stunned. She came in. We talked, we laughed, we even watched a horror movie. The weirdest part? She felt warm, real, not like a ghost, just a girl who'd shown up a little late. But then I noticed something. She never touched anything. She never drank the wine. Her feet made no sound on the floor. And when she left, the door never opened. I rushed to check the security cam footage the next morning. It showed me, alone, talking, laughing, pouring wine into a second glass that was never touched, smiling at no one. The next night, I got a final text from her number. It just said, "Thanks for not forgetting me." If this final story gave you chills, comment, "She kept the date." Let's see who's still here and who believes the dead never really leave. And there you have it. 12 Hinge dates that started with a swipe and ended in something far darker. If these stories made you check behind your door or question your next match, you're not alone. If you enjoyed sinking into the shadows with us tonight, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to Velvet Shadows, and hit that bell so you never miss what creeps in next. And remember, some dates never really end. They just come back after dark.